Dreamers is a Japanese single ATEEZ released on the 28th of July 2021. The date is significant because several important storyline things happen on July 29th. And from a theory standpoint, Dreamers is a personal favorite of mine. I love this music video. I watch it all the time. And I think Dreamers tends to get a bad rep in the ATEEZ theory community. It's often dismissed as a fun little music video that has nothing to do with their lore. But I personally don't think a music video needs to be a direct one-to-one recreation of something from the diary entries in order to contain valuable information about the story. There's a lot I could talk about with Dreamers. I mean, even just the title is basically a synonym for treasure. Dreamers' lyrics mention rain or the storm. It has references to Don't Stop and Limitless and Promise and With You. Let's Go is a phrase that shows up repeatedly in ATEEZ lyrics. There's this run and takeoff line, which has parallels to Turbulence. There's rising versus falling stuff and up versus down stuff. I could talk about the implications of this lyric for like an hour. The music video has some awake versus asleep stuff, which occupies the beginning and ending portions of the video. There's some ocean versus sky stuff. There's the sunset shots that I'm very fond of. There's a ton of color theory stuff with an emphasis on green and blue. ATEEZ has the prism or breaker, which shows up in Thanks and Illusion and the World Movement diary entries. We see the camera, which has been in things like the Beginning of the End concert VCRs. There's lots of trees and plants, which are kind of a big deal when we talk about Utopia. And all of that is very fun to think about. But in my opinion, the most interesting thing about this music video is where it was filmed. Because Dreamers was filmed on Jeju Island. We know that Old World is Seoul, is South Korea. So what if the Old World equivalent of Guardians Island is Jeju Island? I should also say that I can't entirely take credit for this idea because this was initially pointed out to me by K-Weekend on Twitter, so a very big shout out to them. But I am endlessly intrigued by the Dreamers music video because I think it takes place on Guardians Island, but from an old world perspective. So in that way, Dreamers actually has a lot of narrative similarity to Wave, which is an old world biased music video in which we see the island. And there's a lot more evidence that points to Jeju Island beyond this one music video. In the photo booklet that comes with the Fever 3 diary version, those photos were all shot on Jeju Island. You can tell because 1, it looks like Jeju Island, and 2, they all have the same hair colors they had in the Dreamers music video because they shot these photos when they were on the island filming Dreamers, which means they took these photos months before they started work on making the other promotional content for Fever 3. They could have shot these photos anywhere. They could have built a set, they could have thrown a green screen behind them. It's not that hard. But it feels like it was very intentional and planned out that these photos needed to be taken on Jeju Island and were purposefully used for the diary version of the album. There's a clever line that's consequently in the Fever 3 diary entries where Wooyoung says that in the past, the island was a popular tourist destination. In the past, in Old World, we're looking for an island in the proximity of South Korea that's a well-known tourist destination. The rest of my evidence for this theory is all volcano-based. Not to sound like a crazy person, but the end of the world is coming. The last release in ATEEZ's The World series will be the end of the world. And things aren't looking so great right now. They talk about a hurricane in Paradigm and New World. There's possibly some earthquake stuff in Gorilla. There's this big scary storm that keeps showing up. We have disease and also a war that's going on. Just a lot of apocalyptic events that are really building at the moment. And I think a volcanic eruption could be a contributing factor in the end of the world. In the lyrics of New World, Jungho directly mentions a volcano. The volcano of Mount Doom in Lord of the Rings plays a pretty pivotal role in that story. Mount Doom is the place where the ring is made, the beginning, and later is the place where the ring is destroyed, the end. There's a volcano on the island of Neverland from Peter Pan, and in the book for Jumanji, at the climax of the story, Peter rolls a 3, spawning an erupting volcano. ATEEZ's music video for The Real has many scenes and story elements that reference the 2001 Korean martial arts movie Volcano High. Also, and I understand if you think this is not relevant, but in Zyker's Tricky House reality show, we got this map, which, if you connect all the dots, ends with a volcano on what is possibly an island. This next idea is also a bit of a stretch, but volcanoes could potentially tie into all of the quartz theories. There are several Greek Atenes who have proposed theories about the significance of quartz to ATEEZ's storyline, because Halazia is very, very similar to the way you pronounce this word,
Χαλαζίας,
which is the Greek word for quartz. We've seen quartz-esque crystal structures in things like the official fan club posters and the One Piece poster. The glass boxes they're imprisoned in seem to have the same sort of shape. Some people think that the breakers are made out of quartz. Quartz is the primary component in glass and also sand. There's sand on the beach and sand in the desert and sand inside the chromer. But anyways, quartz is formed through the crystallization process of cooling magma. So in a way, volcanoes make quartz. They make halazia. Explosions are talked about in the lyrics of 8 different ATEEZ songs, including this lyric from Where Do I Go, in which they mention a paradise with only ashes left behind, and how the world is about to explode. And in this lyric from Fireworks, they bring up the end of the world, and again, say that this place is about to explode. Very ominous, that lyric, isn't it? So, my theory is that Guardian's Island has a volcano on it. It would make sense. A lot of islands are volcanic islands. I'm no geology expert, but the topography we can see in the Illusion music video is not really giving continental island, or barrier island, or coral island. It's giving volcanic island. They say in the diary entries that people are sent to the island to be disposed of. Perhaps the way they're getting rid of all of those dissidents is with a volcano. I also think this might help explain why so much of the imagery we have of the island depicts it as this beautiful lush utopia covered in plants. Rich volcanic soil creates the environment for a utopia. That volcano explodes and the land is transformed into a dystopian environment, which eventually grows back into a utopia. Volcanoes are at this transition point between utopia and dystopia, between life and death. They're responsible for causing the beginning as well as the end. Dormant volcanoes are frequently described as sleeping, which would make an active volcano awake. And of course, Jeju Island is a volcanic island. Halasan is the name of the volcano on Jeju Island. Yes, I'm not kidding you. This volcano is literally named Mount Hala. Halasan is currently dormant. As such, Old World gets to experience the island as a utopia. It's a place to go on vacation and escape one's daily life, to kick back and relax in a beautiful paradise. But maybe they're about to awaken from this dream. Maybe in the future, that volcano is not dormant. And maybe in New World, it's about to explode.